feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the
Call
Cowboys.
this college rule.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Dom and Chris here, and as always, before we begin, make sure you go and check out our social medias there up on the screen, as well as the Sports Experience Podcast on Instagram, YouTube, and even Spotify, and give us likes, follows, subscribes, and listen, and heck, we might even put an episode out that you suggest. We have a few that we've just done recently.
That's right.
And
That's right.
Recording down here at Engle Studio for all your audio needs in Tucson, Arizona, and just a couple comics that like talking sports. So, Chris, who we got today?
Talking about Wayne Rooney, someone who might be underappreciated outside of England, who's might be underappreciated outside of Manchester United. So, yeah, we'll get into him.
Let's start it off, man.
Yeah.
All right. Born October 24th, 1985, Wayne Mark Rooney. Mm-hmm. Grew up outside of Liverpool.
That's right. So he's definitely a Liverpool man, but he did support Liverpool. He supported Everton.
Yes, he did.
Which is the crosstown rival. Grew his dad, Irish descent. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw, he had the option to play for the Republic of Ireland,
Yep.
but England was just such a better team at that time. He was just like, well, I'm going to play for. And he also, grew up there and all that kind of stuff.
Well, it's home country. Mm-hmm. I mean, just because, and plus.
Well, you get the options.
You get the options, but I'm sure England's a much better soccer team.
Yes, they are.
But, grew up an Everton fan. His favorite player I saw was Ronaldo.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. He said he grew up playing soccer and boxing.
Yep.
So you know how we get those multi-sports? His were a bit different. You know, the feet and the hands.
Not necessarily Kenny Norton doing like the, decathlon and everything, but that's still pretty rad.
What he said was he would play soccer until the sun went down, and then he would go and box indoors because they can turn the lights on. So and that's literally what he said.
Playing sports all day.
And you're just like, all right. But he did excel early on. You know those kids who were just like on a different level in those youth squads. Mm-hmm. He was one of those kids. So like he ends up joining up with the there's just different kind of youth squads, but he's on the Everton Youth Academy, and one of those seasons he ends up scoring 72 goals,
which is insane.
I think he was 13 or 14 at that time. The current Everton defender, his name was Kevin Campbell.
Okay.
Played with him when he was 14. So like there's just like people talking, and there's like, dude, this youth player is like insane. And Campbell came back to all of his players. They were like, he goes, oh, I played with that one kid. And they're like, how was he? And his response was, he should be playing for us right now. And they all laughed at him. And literally he was just like, no. They were laughing in my face, just like, what are you drinking? And he just goes, I'm telling you guys right now, he's going to be one of the best players ever. And that was just like playing with him at 14.
Well, you know what's surprising is he's not like a huge dude either. Like,
no.
That was what I found so interesting. Because normally you see these guys like moving up levels where they're just so much bigger.
But
than
he
everyone.
has the stock. He's the Kirby Puckett body.
Exactly.
And he knows how to use it. And that's what somebody said about his boxing skill, because his like foot movement and his ability to really box people out, not from boxing, but from just the physical nature, always stuck with him. Because you're right, he is a little bit small, but he is not thought of as like a soft player.
He's not wayfish. He's
not even
solid.
like, oh man, not even like a second. Yeah.
I did see by age 15 he's playing for the under 19 team.
Yeah. So he is literally, I think nowadays they would have just promoted him up.
Yeah.
But they were literally waiting for him to go turn 16 and get promoted. You know what I mean? Like he is what everybody's saying, like the hype is actually meeting up with his skill.
Well, probably around this time, too, they don't know what to do with him because it's not like it's done all the time with someone this age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because you're right. Because it's almost like a Messi or one of these where you're just like, oh, he's the best player at Everton on our youth team. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're just like, well,
he doesn't play for our senior team.
That's not good. So he gets promoted to the first team. He's 16. I saw the year before, they ended up playing him as a sub, but they didn't sub him on. Mm-hmm. Just one game. And then over the next year, so he was like pretty much in the first team. He said this, and he said this throughout his career that, like, looking back, he was a bit of a dickhead, but in truth, he just felt like he was better than everybody else. So in preseason, he said he had like 10 goals. He walked up to the manager and said, he just goes, I think I should start the opening. I think I should be the starting striker. And he was just like, and I get it now that I'm a manager, but man, was I so confident in just being like, I shouldn't be on the bench.
To be fair, though, I don't think you can get to that level, particularly at that age, if you just don't have that type of swag to you.
That Michael Jordan energy?
That not Shaquille O'Neal penis energy?
Oh, my God.
The opposite of that?
Hey, you know what? That's still hypothetical. I don't want to get sued. We don't know what it looks like.
We don't know.
We don't know what it looks like. That's the problem.
According to our counsel.
That's the problem.
I mean, he specializes more or less in bird law, but still, he advised us not to talk about it.
Oh, my God. So then he scores one of the... his first goal is such an amazing goal. So, so he goes on against Tottenham, and throughout the whole Tottenham match, they're chanting, "Who are you?"
Yeah, which
you know,
is
just
great.
Because this players get hype around them, and it doesn't pan out. Like we talk about Freddie.
I was just gonna say,
if we're talking about Americans, this is exactly the kind of thing. But they know when it is kind of gonna pan out. So he is that player right off the bat. His first goal is so unbelievable against Arsenal.
Yep.
And this is what all of the English players that were like playing in that era were talking about. They were like, when we saw that goal, we were like, oh, the hype is backed. Like there's no bullshit. So like Arsenal had a 30-game winning streak at this time.
Yep.
They had just come off of their invincible year, and Rooney hits this ball from like 35 feet out.
It was insane, dude.
Yes.
Like,
and he has some of these that people are saying he was just like top 10 all-time Premier League goals. He has like 2 or 3. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that one. Like
it's like when we talked about Ozzie Smith and his sizzle reel just being like so much better than everyone else's.
He's literally just like, oh yeah, you could stack a bunch of these compared to everybody else.
Everybody gets 1, but not everybody has like 9.
But then he goes on and plays like everybody thinks he's going to as this central striker for Everton. He has a hat trick for them. And he's pretty much playing out his contract because Everton just isn't a big enough club,
and they need money. Like I should say, they could use more money to keep building their team.
Yes, they could use money. They know they're not going to be able to hold on to him. They're normally in a relegation battle. There's all of these things that they're pretty much pointing to. He's going to go to a bigger club. I saw that, and I didn't know this when this happened because this is like right when I started watching like Premier League soccer all the time. I saw that Everton actually offered him $50,000 a week, which was crazy money back then. But he was just like, no, I'm going to go on. And then the offers came in from Newcastle. But he was always going to go to Manchester United because I saw this thing that him and Gary Neville were talking about, and he just goes, well, the thing to go to Newcastle was more money, but in the contract it said I was going to play for them for 1 year.
Yeah, it was like an
Manchester.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Manchester United could come in and pay that money for me, and he was just like, oh, so it was just like a loan deal to Newcastle for 1 year, and he just like, yeah, pretty much.
It was like when the Packers didn't want Brett Favre to go to the Vikings, so he went to the Jets, and then immediately went to Minnesota.
Exactly.
Like
that was exactly what it was like.
And Wayne Rooney took out his you-know-what also.
Yeah.
But, we'll get into that later.
All right.
But by 2004, he's now a member of Manchester United with our boy Fergalicious.
That's
the
right.
Coach. We did an episode on that.
That's right, Sir Fergalicious, who they butt heads a couple of times throughout his career with multiple things, you know. So we'll see. One of the best quotes I saw was, and this was in 2004 when he joins up, he gets the number 8. Dennis Law, who was like their, one of the Manchester United legends, just goes, Rooney can do the lot. Eventually, he'll have all of United's records. And this was literally the year that he joined. And
He's
then
19, like 18.
And then he goes on to have all of their records. So you're just like, oh, yeah, that was pretty good. I mean, not all of them, but
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
Hat trick versus Fenerbahce in what people say I think is the only teenage, or at least it was the only teenage Champions League hat trick to ever get scored. So like he is definitely on the scene of this team, but I don't know if you knew this was almost like a rebuild.
Yeah, because all their older guys were kind of on their way out.
All the older guys are a little bit done. Roy Keane's on his way out. They got Ronaldo.
Yep, which is crazy to think.
And Rooney. And what was crazy about this, because he had a great 2004, the hype was, or the thought was that Rooney had a bigger ceiling than Ronaldo, and that Ronaldo was going to kind of peter off, and Rooney was going to be. And they both flourished to it, but nobody was looking at this season thinking Ronaldo was going to be who he was, who he became.
Exactly.
What else we got? The Chelsea end up beating them for the league that year.
Yeah.
2004, 2005, 2006. This is when he has a lot of disciplinary issues.
Yes.
So he's getting sent off a lot. He gets sent off against Villarreal.
He's got a big of a temper to him.
He's got, and man, when he goes skinhead Rooney.
Skinhead.
Woo, boy.
Man.
But he is that type of player, and people say this, it's coming from boxing.
Yep.
He'll never back down from a physical aerial battle. He is that physical presence.
And I'm sure the opposition knows they can bait him.
That too. Some of them know. Yeah, some of them know
exactly how to go after him.
Exactly. So we get to, where are we at? Oh, so in 2005, he ends up breaking his metatarsal versus Chelsea. And this is kind of a theme where he does have ankle problems throughout his career.
Yeah, in his foot too.
Yep.
Because he has a couple years later, he has the same injury in his right foot.
In his right foot.
His opposite foot,
yep.
yeah.
Yep. So we see this going into the 2006 06 World Cup.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And this is where he famously stomps on the Portuguese player.
Yep.
So this was what everybody thought was like England's golden generation. They're in the quarterfinals. They're against Portugal. And a lot of people felt like this was a bit of a meltdown by Rooney, who gets a red card in this game.
62nd minute, Ricardo Carvalho.
Yep, who was playing for Chelsea at the time, who was like their heated. That's who was like the guy who injured him. You know,
the
like a couple,
yeah.
First Chelsea. So it was like 6 months ago or whatever. So it was very much like the stuff was bleeding over. England ends up losing this game, and throughout Rooney's international career, this is like the beginning of it just constantly being criticized.
Yeah, it's kind of the theme for him. Yeah. It's kind of sad, but also, come on, buddy. What are you doing?
Well, it's just not, he is that type of player that you can bait him in. Like, exactly like you were saying. That is such a great, because he really is. 2006, 2007 is one of his better years, but he has a bit of a controversy with Everton.
Yep.
Where when he was playing for them, it was like the saying is like once a blue, always a blue.
He had a shirt too.
And he had a shirt and then they kind of rubbed that back into his face. And when he scored against Everton, he went over and kissed the Manchester United badge, being like, well, I'm kind of done with you guys.
Oh, no.
So, a lot of this was coming from the 2006 World Cup, where like he was getting a lot of boos from more so now, you know what I mean, than from traveling fans. So like he definitely is.
You're a marked man if you're like a phenom and you're on like a team like Manchester United, who is either loved or hated. So that checks out. Checks out.
This is when he wins his first ever Premier League title.
Yep. They beat Chelsea.
They beat Chelsea in the final run there. He has 14 goals in 26 games for them. And the offensive structure of this is more of like he's playing multiple positions. So he's playing like the striker, the wing. And a lot of people thought he should have been just the striker, more then, but like they were trying to fit Ronaldo in.
Yeah.
Later, they try and fit Tevez in. So it's they shuffle Rooney around a lot. I don't know if you saw that.
I did. He played up a whole bunch of different positions, and yeah, that was what they were saying. Just give him one spot, and he'll do all right. But they won the Champions League that year too, right?
All right, so now we get into what I hated was the
I was gonna say, dude.
the all English Champions League. This was the first time they ever had an all English final. They ended up beating Chelsea, and this is what they were saying was this is one of Manchester United's best seasons. Premier League title, Champions League title, and really both of them were against like this Chelsea team that was like really doing great, you know?
Yeah. And then Wayne Rooney had to shit in the apple pie.
And then, we see the next season, like you were saying, he gets injuries. So coming off of this season, 2007, 2008, he ends up getting an ankle and hamstring injuries. And it's tough because people were saying like he wasn't necessarily in form when they end up losing to Barcelona, but they did win their second Premier League title, so they go back to back here.
Yeah, but it's always that's kind of all it is he's always working his way back from injury, so he's not necessarily like 100%.
Well, and that was some of the questions were should he have just been a out and out striker with less workload?
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to say, but that's just because he's getting bounced around. Ronaldo's about to get sold because they have a ton of success right now. 2010, he scores his 100th goal for United.
Yep, I saw that.
League Cup champions, but against Bayern, he hurts his ankle again.
Yep.
In the semi, tries to come back too early, re-hurts it, or re-injures it, whatever. It's interesting because...
They said it was in the last minute of the game, too, like towards the very end.
Yep.
Like,
and that's what people said. It was just like, why was he out there? So they lose to Bayern in that one in the Champions League, and he is in this transitional period because Ronaldo's gone.
mm-hmm.
I don't know if you saw this, but like they kind of sold this core group, or the group got older of Tevez and the Neville brothers, and Tevez goes and Ronaldo goes. And 2010-11, for the first time ever, you hear him ask for a trade request.
Yeah, I did see that.
And
he said he was almost like quitting the team.
Well, Sir Alex was like, to his credit, he said it wasn't financial.
Yeah.
He said it was ambition-based. He said, we ditched all of our offensive power and didn't really replace him, which he was not wrong with, which we will see the next year they end up bringing in somebody else. But yeah. He shuts up right after they give him a new contract for twice as much per week.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's one of those where because a lot of people thought, and this is very English, but a lot of people thought if it was somebody else, he probably would have went to Real Madrid.
Really?
Or he would have went to, you know what I mean?
Oh, I didn't. Oh, wow.
So, like, there was that kind of shit on the table where Real Madrid was trying to put together this, like, Galacticos of, like, players, and he was on the list of, like, possibly going, but he ends up staying in Manchester United. 2010, February 12th, his greatest goal.
Oh, yeah.
Against Manchester City, who now Manchester City is taken over by the oil money.
Yes.
The Arab Emirates money or whatever. So now they're starting to build, and now this rivalry is starting to become big because it's not just that his bicycle kick is like beautiful. It's that it's the winning goal in the derby against Man City who's starting to like come together.
Yeah. No, that's watching that was really cool because you never see that in like a soccer game all the time.
No, it's super rare, and that's why it's like voted like, if not the best, in the top 3 or whatever of goals, because it's like the occasion and the goal, all of that.
Oh, definitely.
They end up winning the Premier League for the 4th time, so like the ambition wasn't necessarily wrong, but they weren't super strong up top. They end up losing to Barcelona again in the final of the Champions League.
Yep.
11-12, the 2011-2012, he has his 150th goal for Manchester United.
And he keeps climbing the list, too.
And he keeps climbing.
Franchise scoring list.
Yep, he becomes the highest English man to goal scorer in the Champions League. So he's definitely cementing himself as a Manchester United legend.
Yeah.
You know? Mm-hmm. This is where Manchester City, this is the year. So like I was saying, this is why the 2010 goal was so important. This is when Manchester City actually beat them, scoring 2 goals in overtime on the last day.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's some of the crazy. That's like one of the best.
Because he had a crazy goal to put his team ahead in one of the games. Yeah.
In the final game. So Manchester United won their game, but Manchester City ended up winning, scoring 2 goals in overtime. It's one of the best finishes ever to a. Probably, I doubt it will ever be topped. It's such a 2012, 2013. So Manchester City wins that year. They bring in Van Persie. Mm-hmm. He gets pretty much pushed back to like a false 10, where he's like in the midfield now, and his role really starts to change. It's kind of interesting because he has a good season, but again, he wants out.
Yeah, I saw that he did multiple times. He wanted to leave, and I'm like, this doesn't. Well, okay.
Well, he said that he felt like he was kind of like put the shackles on his game. You know, like he would have been more free formed if he played in like Real Madrid, or there were talks about him going to Chelsea. Like in this time, Chelsea actually put like a $25 million bid on him.
Did they really?
But they ended up re-signing him to another longer contract. But that's what people were saying was like, what would his game have been if he went to a different club?
Yeah.
You know,
but. Yeah, because that was February 2014, where he gets his next extension. So.
And Sir Alex retires.
Yeah, it's a brand new team.
And a lot of people thought he was gone at this point too, because Sir Alex can't keep him. David Moyes comes in and says he's not going anywhere because he's like our best player.
Yeah.
So they keep him, but he's not like the David post Sir Alex is like a rough go. Mm-hmm. Especially with David Moyes. The next season, Vidic leaves. He becomes
captain.
He becomes captain over Louis van Gaal, and he takes over for third most Prem goals. I don't know if you saw that.
Uh-huh.
So he's still scoring a ton. He's still becoming, or like literally like the player that everybody thinks he is. The next year, and this is what kind of blew my mind because I didn't really think about it throughout all these years, but 2015-16 is the only year he ever won the FA Cup, which is so weird.
Oh yeah,
like like Manchester United just never won the FA Cup during this time, and this is the only year in which he had ever won it. 2017, July 7th, he became United's all-time scorer.
I saw you, bro. Whose record did he break?
Bobby Charlton.
We did an episode on.
I was going to say because he gave him the award.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He like presented him this award, which I always thought was great because Bobby's such a great Manchester United, spokesman, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, no, the one stat I found interesting, he did it in 215 fewer games than Bobby Charlton, which is like, jeez.
Well, and this is...
Because he was a hat-trick machine.
Well, I was just going to say, this is the other thing I was saying was he wasn't in his natural striker position because he was that player that you rotate around, almost like the utility player for your baseball team where you're just like, he can play third, shortstop, second, where you're just like, we're good with him playing anywhere. Like he played wing when Ronaldo was there. He played striker. He played, the 10. So, yeah. 5 Premier, just because he ends up going back to Everton, but 5 Premiership titles with Manchester United, a Champions League, a Europa, an FA Cup.
That's incredible, like to fulfill the hype like that. There are people who were left wanting more, but that's for some, very rarely do you see that someone
to
that
fill
age,
that, yes,
yeah,
and pretty much his whole career it really was the Manchester United. He ends up finishing Manchester United's all-time scorer, Premier League second in scoring behind Shearer, and
we did an episode. Oh, it seems like all of them,
and he was
together.
third on assists, which that was one that actually blew my mind. Where I was just like, oh yeah, you just never gets brought up.
Yeah.
So he's literally third in the Premier League in assists. He goes back to Everton, but it's not great.
No.
But what I thought was interesting, he actually goes to DC United, and it's a lot better. Just like the workload's a lot less. Stays on, and he starts coaching a bit. He does at Derby. He's like the coach player.
Yeah,
for 1 year.
He's Pete Rose in it.
Yep. And then he goes to DC United to coach, and now he's coaching at Birmingham City. And and people say this, he's not a great coach right now, but he could be, like 10 years from now, he could be like one of the great coaches.
And he'll still keep getting chances just based.
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But did you want to talk about the 2010 World Cup?
Oh, shit. I forgot about the 10.
Because
Damn, I forgot about 2010 in South Africa.
Yep.
We got Fabio Capello takes over. Mm-hmm. And, man, are they bad.
That was a bad World Cup overall for England from what I read.
Well, this is just saying they had all of the individual players. They didn't gel together, and that's one of those things where they almost didn't like each other.
Yeah.
It was like Liverpool, Man U, Chelsea, Arsenal, and they almost flew those colors. What Fabio Capello said after that World Cup, which I did think was kind of fucked up, but whatever. He literally said about Rooney, he said he only plays well in Manchester.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that quote, which is
that's
like
harsh.
Oof, it's me. Well, I mean, he was injured in 2006, to be fair.
Yep.
But it's not like they did anything in any of the other tournaments necessarily.
Even in the Euros. Yeah. 2008, he was out. 2012, another bad showing. And they're just not like they got booed by the fans. 2014, they were last in the group.
Yep.
It's England is just notoriously underperformed because they have a group of world-class players who just never pull it out except for one time.
What is it, 66?
66.
Right? Yeah.
And that was, to be honest, that was like a bunch of underdogs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That wasn't like a bunch of, like it is now.
Isn't that the tournament they kicked the crap out of Pele? Not the English, but the other teams were doing
I think
that?
it was Hungary who injured him, and they were like, dude, this is ridiculous. We have to step in because he was injured for like the rest of the tourney.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wayne Rooney, though, one of the greatest Premier League players of all time. Yeah. That's all I got.
All righty.
Yeah.